Good afternoon, and welcome to our continuing series, Interviews with Disciples and Devotees. Today, we are very pleased to have with us Siv from Norway. Namaste.
Namaste.
How did you first hear of Sri Aurobindo and Mother?
That was actually in Denmark in 2003.
2003?
Yes.
Oh.
I was in Denmark for a course in a center called the Golden Circle. And they had made an overview of different directions the spirituality can take.
Mm-hmm.
And there they had Sri Aurobindo as one of the ones which was representing this path.
What did you feel?
At that time, I didn't actually connect to his name at all. I didn't know that I was going to go to India either. So you might say the real first time I heard about Sri Aurobindo was when I came to Auroville.
What year was that, Siv?
That was in 2004.
Oh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was an assistant for my daughter's class. She was in the folk high school and they were going to India. She was studying energy and consciousness.
Energy
and consciousness.
and consciousness.
Yes. And they needed an assistant.
They needed?
An assistant.
An assistant.
Yes.
How old was your daughter at that time?
19.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I had tried to encourage her to go. She really wasn't there that she felt like going. And I encouraged her and said that nothing could stop me if I got this chance to go to India. So when they needed an assistant, she said, Mama can come. And that's how I came to India.
Where did you go first in India?
We came to Delhi. And we traveled around, visited Agra, the traditional tourist places. And then we came to Auroville and stayed in Atithigriha guest house.
Where?
Atithigriha guest house.
Okay.
I was shocked by India. So I had decided to stay 3 weeks longer and travel around in India. But India was really a shock for me. Huge shock.
In what way?
When I came to Delhi and we came out of the airport, I became speechless. I never thought anything like I met at that time. And the smell, all these people which didn't look healthy, sounds, garbage, was very overwhelming. So I didn't speak. And we traveled to a place in Old Delhi and stayed in a hotel there. And when we came there, it was so difficult for me. So I remember I was looking out of the window and saying, if I see the same tomorrow as I see today, I have to go home.
And your daughter?
No, for her, it's as if India is completely natural.
I see.
Yes. But my perception changed, so the next morning, before I opened my eyes, my perception had changed in such a way that I could smell the flowers first, instead of all the other smells, and the sounds, instead of all this noise from the traffic. I could hear children laughing, and nice sounds, music. And when I opened my eyes, also my perception had changed, so I could stay. Otherwise, I had gone home.
So when did you went from Delhi directly to Auroville?
We went to Agra, yes, and a few places more, and then we took a train down to Chennai, and then bus. I remember. It was an interesting trip.
Vladimir told me that you had a very unique experience of that you could share with us. I suppose he meant an inner opening.
Yes. Actually, my life has been full of experiences.
Oh.
From birth. But when I was in my beginning of my 30s, I suddenly got a glimpse of the world being upside down. One day I went from work. I just came between two doors and the world kind of flips upside down. Only for a second, but a second was enough.
Mm-hmm.
I became completely bewildered. I understood that the world is upside down, but I couldn't explain how. And that, you might say, was my beginning, because just after that, I also realized that I couldn't be anything if I wasn't for anybody, if I wasn't anything for myself. And that was my beginning of my search.
Yeah.
But I also, so I started to search within. I didn't know anything about spirituality. It was an unknown word to me. But I knew about psychology, and through work I got the possibility to participate in a psychotherapeutic gathering course over 3 gatherings. And during that process I found something here, a golden ball, golden shining, and inside it was a small me. It was my way of seeing it that time. But I also got the possibility to go back in time and see from the standpoint of the soul. So I went back in time and I could see all the way back to I was in my mother's womb, and I felt how it was to be there, and it was very, very tough. So I went out of the body. So I experienced in the memory my own birth. And I was born outside on the way to the hospital. And I didn't breathe. It was a very thin, tiny thing which came out. So my grandmother took me to the stream and put me into the stream. And then I woke up. But from the soul's point of view, it was daytime in the afternoon, but it was very dark for me to see from that point, from where I was. And when she put me into the stream and took me up again, I understood I had to go back to the body. So I went into the body and opened my eyes, and I saw the forest upside down, hanging upside down.
What was hanging upside down?
I was hanging upside down when I opened my eyes in that body. And I continued to see my first part of my life, and that was when I met Aurobindo for the first time. It was...
this is at what age?
I must have been between 2 and 3 years old when I see myself standing in the hall in my mother's home. And before that age, I had been able to go out and in of the body, as I liked, so to say.
And your parents, any interest in spiritual things?
No.
No. So you were there? Okay.
Yeah, nothing. It was nothing. But then this man with white hair and long white beard was standing on my side, and I was big because I was outside of the body. And I felt also like a very big, mature being. And he said, when you enter the body this time, you will not be able to get out of the body. And I kind of consented and went back into the body. And I walked over the threshold, as he said, when I walk over the threshold to the kitchen, I will not be able to get out again. And what happened when I stepped over that threshold was incredible. I was as pierced from all directions, like hooks, pierced inside and held me there, and feelings came. And yeah, I was flooded with what I remember are the feelings which I didn't have, and I felt as if I was clogged down. And I actually remember this episode from my being in the body also. And I turned around and I ran out of the kitchen. I tried to get out of the body and I couldn't. I was stuck.
Do you know why Sri Aurobindo said that to you?
No, I don't know why he said it. It was as if I had guidance.
Yes, exactly, yes.
I felt
And so now you're 5 years old or something?
I was that time between 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
And but I was always protected. There were many kind of miraculous happenings in my life. So I've been protected many times.
Please share a few.
I had these strong experiences as a child, which we today call flow experiences in a phenomenological tradition. I had very strong these ones as a child when I was playing. Sometimes it was very powerful. I had one episode which was told to me later. I didn't know about it myself, of course, but it was in my father's place on the farm. I was maybe between 4 or 5. I was bicycling in the barn around and round and singing. I was always singing, bicycling, singing. And that day they had left the lids open where they threw the high down to the...
Yeah.
And I took my bicycle to look down. But then the wheel went down and me and the bicycle went down. And it was straight down to the concrete. But there was my uncle catching my foot. And that maybe is not so special, but for him it was very special because that day he was working outside on the field and suddenly it was as if his body turned around and started to run over the field and back to where the cows
lived. So he
lived.
caught you by the leg before you fell?
Yeah, before
you hit
landed,
the ground?
Yes. Whoa. And he ran into where the cows live and he didn't know what to do. His body was bringing him there in a kind of a very panicky way. But he told his mother afterwards, which told my father, and that's how I know about the episode.
Now, from the age of 5 to teenage, what happened to you?
Actually, at that age, I was soaked more and more into ordinary life. So nothing much happened, actually, before I was 15, out of body experience. But still I continued in ordinary life. It again started to come back when I was around 27, 28. Then I had an experience which was very strong around 28. I woke up in the night and it was as if I did my best to remember something. I remember that I threw myself up and took my husband up like this and said, "It's not dangerous to die." Because that was the only thing I could remember. Yeah. But after that, thinking about death, I felt such happiness and heartbeat for 2 years. But I didn't want to die, but I was so happy. was because of what I was able to bring back from this experience in the sleep.
So now we come to India. Or
Yeah.
something before India.
Yeah, actually, what started my search was my sister died suddenly from a trauma to the head, and that was a very tough experience. The sorrow was so strong I couldn't.
And you were very
bear
close.
It was only the two of us, so. But after a few weeks, she came back to me. I didn't sleep. It was as we were sitting now, but I had an inner experience with her.
Yeah.
She came and she had two on each side, and she came and told me that I had had enough sorrow, that I didn't need to have more sorrow. And after that, all sorrow disappeared. So
now, when she came down, there were a person on each side, or
yes,
a being on each side?
A being on each side, yes.
Yeah.
And she came walking towards me and gave me this message and left. And after that, sorrow doesn't come to me anymore. But that experience also made me question more about life. So I think.
And the birth of your child? Special?
Yeah, very special. I had been waiting for her. It was very special. My oldest, yes. And my youngest also is very special. Yeah.
So now you arrive in Aurobindo with your daughter.
Yes.
And what happened?
Yes, what happened? I decided to stay in Aurobindo. India was too scary. Was no way I was going to leave. And before that, I had been going more in the Theosophic direction. I was searching in the Theosophic direction since 2001 until 2004. I had quite many experiences with my heart. And I went into all kind of things, and I was always finding some guidance in what I did, but it always was, no, it's not this. It's not this. As if I was looking for something from inside. But I had many experiences of...
In Aurobindo?
Before Aurobindo. So when I came to many experiences of how to say, what do you call it? I could look at the curtain had such a special pattern, and suddenly I could understand the pattern of the curtain was a kind of had a message. I started to find all kind of messages from the surroundings came to me. Time, for instance. I saw time. How time? What is time?
And what about flowers?
Yes, I had also very strong experiences with flowers.
Can you give me
something
that you recall?
We had an exercise when I was in one of the courses in Denmark, where we should try to connect to something. And I took a pink rose from the garden, quite big one. And we had to go into this. And I actually entered the rose, and it's difficult to describe because the rose is a universe in itself. I had the experience of the rose as a complete universe. And from this I realized that everything is a universe. I also did with a stone. It was something totally different, but still it was a universe. it's my way of describing what I saw. The rose was full of qualities, completeness, where everything was connected. That's why I'm calling it a universe. Yeah.
So now you're staying in Aurobindo with your daughter. And what did she do?
Actually, she didn't do much. When she is in India, she was here with me 4 weeks now. And it is as if she knows everything in a way. Difficult to describe.
Says what?
It is as if she knows everything here. She is kind of completely natural with being here. But she has been meditating since she was 16. So she is very steady being.
So you're saying she's been with you for 4 weeks. Are you speaking of now?
Yeah, now. Yes, she was here for 4 weeks. Yes, but before, when we came to India.
Yeah, your first time, yes.
Yeah, she was completely natural with all this. When she left, I started to search because I understood, or I felt that something was very different. Because what I had before, which I had with me, was all this healing ability which came. It came a healing ability which was not run by me. It was coming when it wanted to come, and it could affect people sitting on my side. So I was very much kind of an instrument for these forces. I learned being in Aurobindo. In time, I learned that it was very mixed, everything. So, what I noticed was that I couldn't really connect to Aurobindo or to the energies there. It was something else. I understood it was something different than I was used to. That I understood. It made me curious. So I went to Savitri, and there I found this Spirit of Aurobindo. That painting called the Spirit of Aurobindo.
Yes. And Hutus painting.
Yes. And that made me very curious because it was these colors and the way it was made connected with something in me. And that was also, yes, the first time I came to Mother and Sri Aurobindo's writings.
And what year is this?
This was in 2004. Yes, 2004. And I just understood before. I was only 3 weeks, but I understood that I have found something which could answer my questions. And I also was able to express that I am looking for knowledge, because I didn't really know what I was looking for these years in 2001 to 2004. I just had this strong urge, which came up in many situations. Like in 2001, the word light came to me, and I started to ask people, what is light? Nobody could answer. They were joking with me until I finally found somebody that could tell me what light was. And that led me to Denmark. So I was always led by some force towards where I am today. In Aurobindo, I brought with me a few books back, and I was very much aspiring for knowledge. One of these books were Mother's Prayers and Meditations, and this one I read every day, and the aspiration was very strong. So in the end I said, I don't understand how, but what she has been writing in this book is my writing. her writing and was my writing. So I was very, very much aspiring.
You remember the other books you took back to Denmark?
These were small books, no big books.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So that was 2004.
2005-06 I read these books. So I decided to come back. Before I left, I understood I found something which I needed to. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to see more. And it kindled my aspiration in a different way. Changed my direction. I kind of went away from this healing and theosophical direction. It became uninteresting after this, what I found in Aurobindo, which I didn't know what was really, but I knew it was. It was important. Yeah, and since then I've been coming and going.
Can you speak of any experiences with Mother or Sri Aurobindo?
Rather than having experiences directly with them, I have had experiences related to the knowledge. In 2006 and 7, I studied Sri Aurobindo's thoughts in Sakar. I took the master degree.
In Sakar?
Yes.
I see.
Master degree there. It was, when I started to study, I wasn't able to read Sri Aurobindo. One sentence, I was finished. I couldn't. So I used to sit in the library in Savitri. So I was reading one sentence, two sentences, fall asleep, or I didn't manage to hold the sentence. So then it was walk over to the hall and sit in front of Mother's picture and ask for, lift me up so I can read. And in the beginning, I felt 3 steps. And I went back, and I could read a little. And then, after some time, back to the picture and sit, lift. In the beginning, it was 3 steps. Then it became 2 steps. And then it became 1 step. And then I didn't need any step anymore. I was able to read. I had many revelations during reading and discussing with Vladimir, which was physical enlargement of my consciousness. I decided to study equality in depth. So I studied that for 3 months, and I wanted to know what equality was. So I studied it, and everything I did during these 3 months was with focus on that. And so one day, I also went to the petal in the garden. And it was also that time I understood that to read Sri Aurobindo in the garden was much better than to read it anywhere else. But one day I was sitting in the petal. I was thinking, I have never had so many thoughts at the same time crowding in my head. But suddenly they stopped. Completely stopped. And I was given the possibility to be in equality. And it stayed with me for an hour. I was walking around. And from this I learned that the color of equality is built of several of the qualities. I could feel the different, so to say, what it was constituted from. I felt this power, which was there. Peace was two distinct presences in the equality.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards I saw that how the color is blended together is how you experience it. So this is one of my favorite experiences of the knowledge.
So where did you read Sri Aurobindo? Under the banyan tree?
Actually, I read it in front of the entrance. They have tables there, and that time you could sit there.
Yes. Okay.
And it was just by a coincidence that I read there and realized it was so easy to read there. It was a different space to read in. Yeah, so I stayed in Aurobindo for 2 years. And the presence was, after these 2 years, the presence was with me constant, day and night. But it was also a lot of things, struggles coming up. It was feelings I didn't know I could have. And I was really embarrassed by some of them. And I was really disappointed with myself that I could have these kind of feelings. But somehow I managed to hold myself together, and I understand now that I was doing maybe too much pranayama to the extent that I could control my body. At the same time as I was studying Aurobindo, at the same time I was going very intensely into forcing myself forward, you might say. And I was really voluntarily walking. And then I realized that if I looked at my life back in time, I have always had 2 hands in my back and my heels on the ground, and you could see 2 stripes until a point where I started to walk myself. So it was not without resistance. It was a lot of resistance and difficulties.
Not unusual for any of us.
No, I suppose it's how it has to be. I used to say it must be this tightening of the bow, which is one picture, tighten the bow before you let go.
So, are you living now permanently in Aurobindo?
Yes, now I have moved here.
Since how long?
Now I moved here in August. In August this year.
You will be...
I started to stay for good. Now 2017. Yeah.
See, have you read Savitri at all?
Yes. I was waiting to be able to read Savitri.
You?
I wasn't able to read Savitri with understanding. But 3-4 years back, I was able to read it with one layer of understanding.
Yes.
At least I understood that this layer is there, and I read one layer. Yeah. But I think I knew Sri Aurobindo before. Because I had an uncle. The reason why is that I had an uncle. He had birthday the 24th of August. And every year I kind of mistook his birthday for being the 15th. And I remember once I was so disappointed. I was maybe 17, 18. I was so disappointed that his birthday was not the 15th. And I thought about it later because it was so distinct experience that I think I must have known him in one way or another.
But you also had the experience of him when you were 2 or 3.
Yes.
Yeah. What will you do in Aurobindo? What work?
Now I am working for the University of Human Unity. Yeah. I'm still kind of waiting a little to see what I should do. I still have small experiences of being an instrument. Sometimes it takes over and my body is used for the presence. But I'm kind of more... It's difficult to explain all these changes which happens to you, but now I am very ordinary, I would say. I feel very ordinary. Not like before, when I was living in the presence. I stayed in Norway for 2 years, the presence was with me. It slowly faded. In the beginning it was very strong. If I was 5 minutes too late for the train was 5 minutes too late. It was always some kind of synchronicity. Because my head wasn't really present in the daily life. So I could double book appointments at work, and always somebody called and and changed their appointment. Things like this. But slowly after 2 years, it went away. I had to enter ordinary life. And looking back, I see it was actually good, because it was so much that I had to settle. So I have a new starting point now, which is clearer, cleaner, less mixed, steady. So we will see what I will do. Now I've been renovating.
Oh.
Yes, I've been living with 10, 12 Indian workers every day and had the experience of that. It's a good experience to have these normal Indian people around you all the time.
I feel a great joy in you as well.
Yes. It's nothing ecstatic about it, but it's...
Sri Aurobindo says in Savitri, the adventure of consciousness and joy.
Yes. Yeah. I'm happy to be back, but very realistic, you might say. Very realistic.
Well, we have the 50th anniversary coming up.
Yes.
And you'll be here for it.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. A few years back, I decided to take my son for vacation to the Canary Islands, to Gran Canaria. He was very sick at that time, so we both needed a vacation. So we went there, and we went for a trip into the mountains. They had this tour with tour guides, told the history of Gran Canaria. And we came to a place called Santa Lucia. I didn't know about it, that it was a Santa Lucia on Gran Canaria. It was an extraordinarily beautiful place, and I decided I wanted to go to the church. And this is an example how things come to you without you knowing it happens. I had very little time. 15 minutes, they said, and then we will go. All the steps up to the church. Went inside, because I always like to go and lit a candle when I go to the churches. And it was such a beautiful church. So clean and clear and bright. Really amazing. So I lit the candle, and as usual, I gave my prayer. And then something happened I never, ever have experienced. And that was, I understood what this pranam, when you fall down to the floor. My body fell down to the floor in front of the goddess. A real surrender, which I didn't know the body could do. So from this I learned that the mother is everywhere. She's absolutely everywhere. So it was I needed that, I needed that confirmation that I was not alone, or I was still on the way. So it was a very, very good experience.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, it was really a place to visit also.
Thank you.